presents Stretch Armstrong. You can stretch him all kinds of ways. You can stretch his arms.
What if the toy you forgot about in 1978 could buy you a car in 2025? Some 70s toys now sell for thousands, even over $1 million. How can you tell if your old action figure or doll is ultra rare? Today we're revealing the most valuable toys from the 1970s and the rare details that make them worth a fortune. Stick around, because one toy on this list just sold for more than a brand new house. But the first toy in our list is now worth more than a Tesla. Released in 1978, this wasn't just any Luke Skywalker figure. It came with a double telescoping lightsaber, meaning the saber extended not once, but twice. Kenner designed it that way to look like the glowing blade was growing out of the hilt, just like in the movies. Cool? Absolutely. Durable? Not even close. The thin plastic design was super fragile, and it kept snapping. On top of that, it was expensive to manufacture. Every lightsaber had two sliding parts that had to be assembled by hand. So Kenner quickly pulled the plug on the design and switched to a simpler one-piece saber. That means only a tiny number of these original double telescoping Lukes ever made it into the wild. Most were store samples or part of the very first production wave. If you've got one and it's in great shape, you're sitting on serious cash. In 2022, one of these figures sold at LCG auctions for a jaw-dropping $100,251.60. That's more than the price of a brand new Tesla Model S, and it's literally just a 3/4 inch piece of plastic. Luke's saber was rare, but guess what? Obi-Wan's version might be even harder to find.
It's Kenner's new Star Wars action figures, each sold separately.
I've got you now, Ben Kenobi.
The 1978 Obi-Wan Kenobi figure might look simple, but he's one of the rarest Star Wars action figures ever made. Why? Because like the original Luke, early versions of Obi-Wan came with a double telescoping lightsaber, a two-part plastic saber that extended twice for that movie magic effect. But there's a twist. While Luke's version made it into a few store shipments, Obi-Wan's double saber edition barely escaped the prototype phase. Most were handed out only as Kenner test figures or part of very limited runs. That makes mint versions ultra scarce, even more so than Luke's. Most kids who got one broke the lightsaber within days, or tossed the figure entirely. Fast forward to today, and collectors treat this Obi-Wan like the Holy Grail. It's not just about nostalgia, it's about rarity, condition, and surviving decades without damage. In May 2025, one of these rare Obi-Wans sold at Hakes auctions for a stunning $105,182. That's more than a brand new Tesla Model Y, just for one little plastic Jedi. But what about a toy filled with goo that somehow survived the 70s? Say hello to Stretch Armstrong, the weirdly lovable, super flexible action figure launched by Kenner in 1976. This guy wasn't just a toy, he was a science experiment wrapped in rubber. You could yank him from end to end, tie him in knots, and he'd still bounce back. Unless, of course, he burst open. And that's exactly what makes him rare today. Inside that muscular rubber shell was a thick corn syrup-like goo that almost always leaked, cracked, or exploded over time. Kids loved abusing their Stretch Armstrongs, but very few of them made it out of the 70s in one piece. The ones that did, usually sticky and definitely not boxed. Finding a Stretch Armstrong that's still intact is tough. Finding one in the original packaging, practically a miracle. Even a used Stretch Armstrong in decent shape with the original box recently sold for $829 on eBay. And that was just a well-loved one, not a pristine collector's dream. A new in-box Stretch, easily worth thousands today. So, if you come across an old Stretch Armstrong tucked away in a closet, don't toss him. He may look like a floppy old action figure filled with goo, but in the world of vintage toys, he's basically liquid gold in latex skin. He's stretched, but the value of our next toy, well, that's about to go sky high with one very weird-eyed doll. Meet Blythe, the big-eyed, slightly creepy fashion doll released by Kenner in 1972.
She's bouncy brown. Wow, green-eyed and groovy. Hey, hey, purple, pretty as you please.
When she hit the shelves, kids didn't know what to make of her. She had a giant head, spooky stare, and those eyes, but they changed colour with a pull string in the back of her head. Blue, green, orange, pink. Weird? For sure. Popular? Not even close. Sales were so bad, Kenner yanked her from shelves within a year. She was labelled a total failure and vanished into obscurity. But then something strange happened. Decades later, collectors and artists rediscovered Blythe. And suddenly, the same doll that bombed in toy stores became a cult icon. Fashion photographers loved her bizarre proportions, and customizers turned her into works of art. Her original designs became priceless. One boxed, pre-owned Blythe doll recently sold on eBay for $3,559.11. And that's not even mint. If you've got one still unopened, it could easily go for $5,000 plus, depending on the condition and model. From total toy aisle reject to collector goldmine. Check that attic. That creepy doll your mum swore was too weird to play with? Yeah, that might be the one. That creepy doll brought in thousands, but could a tiny toy car actually beat it at the auction block? Let's talk about Hot Wheels Redlines, the holy grail of toy car collecting. Made between 1968 and 1977, these Hot Wheels had one signature detail, a red line around each tyre, hence the name. But the real jackpot lies in the rare colours, low production runs, and quirky designs that disappeared fast. Take the legendary Beach Bomb, a rear-loading Volkswagen bus that didn't fit on Mattel's tracks, so they scrapped it. Or the flashy Python, a futuristic car that came in wild colours like antifreeze green and hot pink. Kids played with them, adults forgot about them. But collectors, they're on a mission to find the rarest of the rare. Condition is everything. Scratched, still cool. Mint, in blister packaging, we're talking serious money. Some of these little cars have sold for up to $4,000 each at auction. The ultra-rare Beach Bomb prototype has gone for over $150,000 in the past. And it all started as a 59-cent toy in a blister pack at your local grocery store. Tiny cars, big profits. But what if the real superhero of toy collecting wore a cape? In 1973, Mego dropped a game-changer, an 8-inch Superman action figure, fully posable with a cloth costume and plastic boots. This wasn't just a toy. This was the birth of superhero action figures as we know them. Up until then, superhero merch was limited to lunchboxes and comics. But Mego's World's Greatest Superheroes line brought the Justice League off the page and into your toy box. Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, even the lesser-known heroes got their moment. And Superman was the flagship. These figures weren't sealed in stiff plastic molds like today's toys. They were flexible, detailed, and made for serious kid battles. But because of that, they also got beat up. Cloth suits tore, boots got lost, capes vanished. That's why finding one in good condition today is no easy feat. Recently, a used Mego Superman with box sold for $124.50 on eBay. Not bad, but that's nothing compared to what mint condition or carded ones can bring. Some go for hundreds, even thousands, depending on the condition and packaging variant. And it's not just nostalgia. This figure represents the start of the superhero toy revolution. So, if you dig through your attic and spot a cloth-caped Superman with bendable limbs, especially if he's still wearing those tiny red boots, don't toss it. But the last toy in our list was never sold to the public, and still made someone a millionaire. Meet the 1979 rocket-firing Boba Fett prototype. Back in the day, Kenner planned to release this figure as part of the Star Wars toy line. It looked like the bounty hunter we all know from The Empire Strikes Back, but with one crazy twist. It was built with a spring-loaded rocket launcher on its back. Yes, Boba Fett was going to actually fire a plastic missile, but before it ever launched, literally, a kid tragically choked on a Battlestar Galactica toy with a similar mechanism. That was enough for Kenner to slam the brakes and cancel the rocket-firing feature altogether. They never sold it in stores, but a few prototype figures were already made, and that's where the gold is. Collectors lost their minds trying to find one. Most are in museums or locked in private collections. But in August 2024, one lucky collector hit the jackpot. A near-mint rocket-firing Boba Fett prototype sold for a mind-blowing $1.342 million at Goldin auctions, making it the most expensive toy ever sold. A toy that never made it to shelves ended up being worth more than a house. So, if your uncle ever worked at Kenner, or you find a weird Boba Fett in a box, check it twice. You might be holding plastic gold. Which one do you think will be worth the most in the next 10 years?